Better World Blueprint. Good humans doing good things.
Hello, welcome to A Better World Blueprint. I'm Siobhan Hunt. I make this podcast because it makes me feel good, particularly when most of my newsfeed is telling me how terrible people can be. Here, you'll find out about people who are kind, giving and heart-led, people who are truly making a difference in the world. It's so lovely to have you here. There's a saying that the standard you walk by is the standard you're willing to accept. Throughout her life, there are many things that Sue Martin has not walked by. An English teacher by trade, she's always been an activist, winning the Order of Australia for service to the community of Pittwater in 2021. These days, you'll find her helping out at Computer Pals Avalon, a volunteer organisation helping older Australians navigate technology. I hope you enjoy this chat with Sue Martin. What led you to doing all of this work? Was it a moment in your life where you thought, motivated to go and be active in the community? Was it just one moment, or do you think it's always been there?
I was being a teacher at a high school, and so I've been more aware of kids and their needs and things like that, and also raising their awareness. As an English teacher, I felt committed to encourage kids to think, have minds of their own. And I suppose that sort of led me to be interested. And Avalon's a lovely area to live. So I became concerned about the erosion of the public land. And so I don't know, I suppose it's just being aware of things. I've always been happy to stand up and do something. Yes, I suppose it's just something I do, I suppose.
When you were teaching,
yep.
Did you have time to be doing all this activism, or was it something that you concentrated on with your students at that point of your life?
Well, I started the bushwalking group to reclaim public land when I was teaching. It was sort of a headspace time for us all after school. We'd sort of meet and then just go for a walk. So I've always been aware. I've always liked reading the news and always been aware. I joined the Avalon Preservation Trust and then became their secretary and newsletter writer in the 80s, I think. So, no, it's just been part of my life, I suppose.
And it's interesting you say that, because it makes me think of, for example, the P&C or the stuff that you need to do in primary school or to support the local school. And often parents will be, I don't have time for that. Like, I've got a busy life, I'm working, I'm juggling all these things.
Yeah.
Was that ever challenging for you? Was that ever something you battled with, like doing all your volunteer work?
Yeah, no, we're a child-free couple, so we didn't have that sort of picking up kids from school and things like that. So I would have had a little more time than the parents with their children. So that was one reason I was able to do those sort of things. And I have a very supportive husband who was quite happy for me to go off and do all these things.
But it is still work. Volunteering can sound like it's a pretty straightforward process. Like, you just step forward and say, I'll be the one that will help. But if it's something you're starting from scratch, for example, you mentioned that Bushwalking Ramblers group, there's no pun intended, path to setting something up like that. Was that interesting, or what was that process like, I guess? So you've decided, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to put the effort in.
Well, so I think it started because we were a group of teachers who were coming back from an in-service. We were talking, and I think I was fulminating about a neighbour who had hidden this public land so that people could use it. And so we sort of started talking, and I said, well, we should do something about this. And so that's when I just sort of started. So I put a sign up around down at the Avalon pool and outside the health food store, and people would meet. They'd know where to meet. So I just did it.
And did you ever have to set up, I'm thinking of the other work that you've done as well. Did you ever have to set up structures for yourself? I'm wondering as well if your background as a teacher helped with that, because you do have to be organised, right? You need to get emails when that's appropriate and all those sorts of things. Did you have to set up those structures for those different things that you were doing?
In the 80s, of course, I wrote some English textbooks with a friend, and we used computers. And so I started realizing the power, they were very primitive, but I started realizing the power of computers. So that made it very much easier. And I suppose that's where the AVPAL thing may have started, because computers were very blokey. And I was a female teacher, English teacher, so what would I know? And the male teachers and the senior boys were quite amazed to see this girl. And I decided, right, we'll get the girls involved. So I said, okay, we're having a girls-only lunchtime, where only girls can use the 4 computers in. So, so that's why I got involved in that. And so then the boss noticed, and he's appointing me the computer studies teacher for HSC, no training, of course, and the computer coordinator. So the kids who used to see me walking around with toilet rolls and tampons as the girl supervisor saw me walking around with screwdrivers, and it was quite appalling for them. But I became interested in that, and then saw the wonderful structures you can use with computers and with contact details. And so I just sort of used that to help me. I also managed a website later on, HSC Online, so I knew all about meetings and structures and that. So that's why I took over the role of writing the minutes for various associations, became the secretary. So I suppose it's just evolved, and I've enjoyed learning.
Can you talk to me about Avalon Computer Pals?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with this because I feel like we live in a world that not only is obsessed with youth, but is somehow completely admired in the present day. In a sense, there's no acknowledgement of how quickly technology has changed for older generations. Because we're obsessed with being young, we're obsessed with youth, we're obsessed with advancing in technology, that it's almost like everyone's expected to stay on top of it. And we just don't seem to acknowledge how alien this world must be for older generations. And yet they're expected to interact with it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, I totally, and it frustrates me. I mean, when I retired finally, so I was doing part-time work, I enjoyed teaching. I hated the marking. I mean, as an English teacher, I had Saturdays off and Friday nights off. The rest of the time I'd done the marking or whatever. So when I retired, I thought, I still like teaching, but I don't need the marking. And I love technology. I mean, I was the computer person in our swimming group. I'd make house calls. My friends say, Sue, I need to go to the next line. How do I do that? I think press the enter key or something like that. All those sorts. So I was the house call person. So AVPAL seemed an ideal place to join. They'd been around since about 2000. I was aware of them. And the mission is to empower seniors. And I feel that these are people who have led successful lives. And now they are depowered. They are patronised. And I feel it's important to empower them. And that's my role. They don't need to read a manual. They just need to know how it best will suit them. So that's always been the role of the Computer Pals. And so I'm delighted in joining them. So we have one-on-one sessions. And I always remember the niece of this. He walked in, he would have been in his mid-80s, I think. And he said, look, the wife's usually done all of this. He said, but I thought I'd better learn how to do something with it. So I think 2 or 3 months later, he was Skyping his granddaughter in Marseille. So, yes, and there was the woman who, her bank, she didn't have a local bank, so she had to go online, and she didn't know how to do it. She was terrified of scams and hackers. So we worked, and I explained strategies to her, and she now quite happily, she's just turned 90, she quite happily pays her invoices online, and she's even ordered some trips with Probus online. So I feel it's empowering them. I never touch their keys. I would, because I'd say, don't let your grandchildren touch the keys, because if they do it, you still don't know how to do it. It's all about empowering. And I get so angry with the way in which I think the younger generation think this is a problem that will die out because the old people will die. So I visit someone who used to be my computer student. She has no mobile phone. She's 93 now. She has no mobile phone. She doesn't have the internet. Trying to get services for her because they say go online. So, there's an important role for computer pals because we've got to empower people. And I always say to them, having a computer is never having to say you're sorry because it's always the computer's fault.
Computer Pals is what you do now, along with other things, but you've obviously been active in the community for a very long time.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time where you were involved with a project where it was particularly challenging, where you sort of thought, oh, why am I doing this?
Well, I think the same Mono Hospital campaign, we're still battling there, so that's an overwhelming one. With the Friends of Currawong, it was full on. We had meetings weekly we were trying to stop the area being sold for private McMansions. And it was full on. I was still working part-time there. It was full on. It was exhausting. But we were so determined. We felt right was on our side. So you just continued, you just battled on. And of course, technology was a great help. It was easier to involve people, to engage people, to contact people. But no, I suppose you just do.
Well, I'm wondering if part of that is the impact you see from the work that you've done, the volunteering that you've done. Have you been able to see the impact of all those unpaid hours that you put in?
Oh, yes. I mean, yes, the censorship, because we did win the battle for Currawong. So it is now owned by the people of New South Wales. So, yes. And I feel I've done good. Yeah, it's worth it. And otherwise, what would you do? I mean, I have no understanding of people who say, oh, I don't want to retire because I don't know what I'll do. I think, my God, there's so much. I like giving back. I think that's what it is. People should give back. And that's what I like to do. And it's fun, and you meet people.
Has the work, particularly I think the Avalon Computer Pals volunteering, has it changed you at all, do you think?
I just think it's made me aware of the diversity of needs and the diversity of abilities and also people's circumstances, that I'm aware of the loneliness that some people now have. I mean, this person that I visit, she has no family in Australia. And so I'm her helper, and I just think there are a lot of people, older people, and they're forgotten because they can't use computer. Well, tough. I had to battle with Services New South Wales because my friend doesn't have a mobile phone and doesn't have the internet, so she couldn't apply for the $200 energy rebate because I said, can't you send us the form? And they said, there is no form. So I actually went to the Anti-Discrimination Board about that because it's not fair. There'd be a lot of people out west who haven't got good internet or don't use the internet. But it does concern me that older people are, well, it's a problem that's going to die out. That's what you'd say. They think we're going to die out.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
But if technology, it's very short-sighted, isn't it? Because if technology continues the way it has been, then presumably those that are up to date with everything now, it's going to change again and possibly in ways they can't keep up with.
True, but I think younger people are more flexible because they've grown up with it. So I don't think there is the same issue as there is for people. See, I'm 75, so my generation, to whom it was a new thing. I learned about it in the 80s. And so, whereas other people, they don't know life without it.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a terrible indictment on us, isn't it, that we can think a problem will die out. Well, Sue, I can see you are making a huge difference in the work that you're doing. So thank you for chatting with me today.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Sue Martin, OAM and activist. I'm keen to chat with more people like Sue. Do you know anyone? If you do, shoot me an email. You'll find the address in the episode notes. I'm Siobhan Hunt. See you next time on A Better World Blueprint.